Shocking stroke risk. The fruit. Every senior should avoid. According to a brain doctor. Hello, I'm Dr. Nancy. Have you ever opened your fridge, grabbed a piece of fruit thinking you were making a healthy choice, and felt confident about it? Maybe you've been told for years that fruits are always good for you, no exceptions. It's something we all grew up believing, right? Fresh fruit equals good health. But what if I told you that, as a brain doctor, I've seen real evidence showing that one specific type of fruit could silently raise your risk of stroke overnight, especially if you're over 60? I know, it sounds surprising, maybe even a little hard to believe. But stay with me, because this is something every senior deserves to know. Now, before you start second-guessing every fruit in your fruit bowl, let's take a deep breath together. This isn't about cutting out all fruit or making life harder than it needs to be. My goal today is simple: to share with you, in a calm and clear way, the truth about a hidden stroke risk that most seniors don't even realize they're exposed to. And more importantly, I want to give you practical, easy-to-apply tips to help you avoid that risk while still enjoying a healthy, vibrant life. As we go along, I'll explain exactly which fruit we're talking about, why it's especially risky for folks in their golden years, and what smarter, safer choices you can make starting today. So grab a cup of tea or water, get comfortable, and let's dive right in. First, let's take a moment to talk about why stroke risk becomes such a big concern as we get older. It's not just about the numbers, though the numbers are certainly eye-opening. Did you know that after age 60, the chance of having a stroke doubles every decade? That's not meant to scare you. It's just a reality of how our bodies change with time. Blood vessels get a little less flexible. Blood pressure has a tendency to creep up. Even things like dehydration, sleep habits, and what we eat play a bigger role than they did when we were younger. Now, here's where it gets really interesting and personal. Many of my patients in their 60s and beyond come into my office feeling like they're doing all the right things. Eating their fruits and vegetables, going for walks, staying active with hobbies. But when we look closer at their daily diets, one specific fruit keeps showing up. And when we connect the dots, we often find a link to higher blood pressure, blood sugar spikes, and increased stroke risk. That fruit? It's none other than the seemingly innocent canned fruit cocktail. I know. It doesn't sound dangerous at first, does it? After all, it's fruit. It's got peaches, pears, maybe some cherries or pineapple mixed in there. But here's the thing. Most canned fruit cocktails are packed in heavy syrup. That syrup is loaded with sugar. So much sugar that it can cause your blood sugar to spike dramatically, even if you don't have diabetes. For seniors, those spikes can be especially dangerous because they stress the blood vessels in the brain and can set the stage for clots and strokes overnight while you're sleeping. What's even sneakier is that the labels on these cans often say things like natural juice or light syrup. But when you check the fine print, there's still a lot of added sugar hiding in there. One small serving can have as much sugar as a can of soda. And if you're eating canned fruit as a snack every evening, thinking you're making a healthy choice, it can quietly be raising your stroke risk without you even knowing it. Now some of you might be wondering, but isn't natural fruit sugar different from added sugar? And that's a great question. The answer is yes and no. Natural fruit sugar, like the kind in a fresh apple or a handful of berries, comes along with fiber, vitamins, and water that help slow down how quickly your body absorbs the sugar. But with canned fruits in syrup, most of the fiber has been stripped away. The result is a fast sugar rush, just like eating candy. And here's where I want to pause and share a quick story. I once worked with a patient named Margaret. She was 72, full of energy, loved gardening, and prided herself on eating well. But she kept having these unexplained dizzy spells, and one frightening night ended up in the ER with a mini-stroke. When we reviewed her habits, she mentioned that her favorite bedtime snack was a small bowl of canned peaches. "It's just fruit," she said. "It can't be bad for me." That was the wake-up call she needed. When we switched her to fresh, low-sugar fruits and adjusted a few other habits, her risk factors improved dramatically. So, what can you do instead? First, if you have canned fruit sitting in your pantry right now, take a look at the label. If it says heavy syrup, light syrup, or even fruit juice concentrate, it's best to set that can aside for now. The smarter swap is opting for fresh fruit or fruit canned in water with no added sugar. You can find these options at most grocery stores these days, often labeled as no sugar added or packed in water. And when in doubt, frozen fruit is also a great choice because it's picked and frozen at peak ripeness with no added sugar or syrup. Now that we've touched on why canned fruit cocktail is a hidden risk, let's talk about another sneaky factor in your daily routine that could quietly be raising your stroke risk. And that sneaky factor might be sitting right on your kitchen table without you even noticing. I'm talking about fruit juices. Now you might be wondering, wait a minute, isn't orange juice good for me? I've been drinking it for years. And I completely understand where that's coming from. Many of us grew up with the idea that a glass of juice with breakfast was just part of a healthy routine. But as a brain doctor who's worked with many seniors, I can tell you, this is another hidden stroke risk that often slips under the radar. Here's why. Most store-bought fruit juices, even those labeled as 100% juice, are stripped of the fiber that whole fruits naturally have. Without that fiber, what you're left with is a concentrated source of sugar that floods your system almost instantly. For younger folks, the body might handle that sugar spike a little better. But as we get older, our metabolism slows down, and our arteries become less flexible. That quick surge in sugar puts extra pressure on your blood vessels, especially those in the brain. I remember chatting with a gentleman named Robert, who was 68. He was proud of staying off sodas and would often say, "I only drink healthy juices." But when we looked at his blood sugar levels and blood pressure, there were signs of trouble. A simple adjustment, swapping juice for whole fruits or water flavored with a splash of lemon, helped lower his stroke risk significantly. It's a small change that can make a big difference. Now, I'm not here to make life less enjoyable. I get it. Sometimes you just want something sweet, something refreshing. The key is balance and choosing options that work with your body, not against it. So, if you love the taste of orange or apple juice, try having a small slice of the actual fruit instead. You'll still get that flavor, plus the benefits of fiber, vitamins, and hydration, all without the sudden sugar spike. Speaking of hydration, this brings me to something else many seniors overlook. Staying properly hydrated is a simple but powerful habit for protecting your brain. You might think hydration is just about avoiding thirst or keeping your skin looking good, but it's much deeper than that. When we don't drink enough water, our blood can become thicker, making it harder for it to flow smoothly through our arteries. That increases the chance of clots forming, which can lead to a stroke. I can't tell you how many times I've seen older patients come in feeling foggy, dizzy, or unusually tired, symptoms that can mimic stroke warning signs. Often it's simply because they're dehydrated. And here's something surprising. As we age, our sense of thirst becomes less sharp. We might not feel thirsty even when our body really needs water. One easy trick I often share is to keep a glass or bottle of water within arm's reach throughout the day. Set little reminders if you need to. And no, coffee and tea don't count as hydration boosters if they're loaded with sugar or cream. Plain water, herbal tea, or even water infused with fruit slices is the way to go. Now let's circle back to what we put on our plates. We've talked about canned fruit cocktails and fruit juices, but there's another habit I see quite often in seniors that ties into stroke risk, and that's overdoing salty snacks. Maybe you enjoy a handful of chips in the afternoon, or a few salted nuts before dinner. While salt is important in small amounts, too much can raise your blood pressure quickly. High blood pressure is the single biggest controllable risk factor for stroke. For example, one of my patients, Carol, had no idea her favorite crackers were contributing to her health issues. She always assumed it was just a harmless snack. But the sodium content in processed foods adds up fast, especially when we aren't paying close attention to the labels. And again, just like with sugar and canned fruits, labels can be tricky. Words like lightly salted or reduced sodium might still mean more salt than your body needs. So, here's what I often recommend. Check the label and aim for snacks with less than 140 milligrams of sodium per serving. Even better, try snacking on unsalted nuts, fresh veggies like cucumber slices, or fruits that are naturally low in sugar and sodium, like fresh berries or an apple with a bit of almond butter. What I really want to emphasize here is that none of this is about giving things up completely. It's about awareness and making small adjustments that add up over time. I'm not suggesting you never enjoy a bowl of fruit cocktail or a glass of juice again. But for those of us past 60, even these small daily choices can be the tipping point between feeling sharp, energized, and protected versus facing unexpected health challenges. Every step you take toward understanding what's really going into your body is a step toward a healthier, more vibrant life. I believe that at any age we have the power to make positive changes, and it's never too late to start. Whether it's swapping that sugary canned fruit for a fresh peach, sipping water instead of juice, or choosing a lower sodium snack, each small decision creates momentum for better brain health. Now that we've covered a few of these surprisingly risky habits when it comes to fruits and snacks, there's still more we need to talk about. And it's something that often goes unnoticed until it's too late. And that's the hidden stroke risk linked to certain diet trends many seniors unknowingly follow. I've seen it time and time again, folks in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, trying to eat better by focusing only on what they think is light or easy on the stomach. And while the intention is good, sometimes these habits can quietly backfire. One common example is relying too much on refined carbohydrates. Maybe you skip the heavier meals and stick to things like white bread, crackers, instant oatmeal, or even plain white rice, thinking they're gentler on your system. But here's the thing. Those refined carbs break down very quickly into sugar. Without enough fiber or protein to balance them out, they create that same sugar spike we talked about earlier, which stresses your arteries and increases stroke risk. I remember working with a lady named Doris. She was 75, active, loved playing cards with her friends, but she kept feeling weak in the afternoons. She wasn't diabetic, but her energy levels were up and down like a roller coaster. When we looked at her meals, she was having white toast in the morning, plain crackers as a snack, and white rice with dinner. No wonder she felt shaky. By gently switching her over to whole grain options, like oats, brown rice, and whole grain bread, her energy stabilized and her brain health markers improved. Now, I know whole grains can feel a little heavier at first, especially if you're not used to them. But it doesn't have to be complicated. Even a small swap, like choosing whole grain crackers instead of white ones, makes a difference. And many brands these days offer lighter whole grain breads that don't feel as dense as the ones from years ago. Another sneaky stroke risk, especially for seniors, is skipping meals altogether. You might not feel as hungry as you once did, or maybe cooking for one feels like too much effort. But skipping meals can lead to low blood sugar and sudden drops in energy, which can affect balance, coordination, and increase the risk of a stroke due to uneven blood pressure fluctuations. I once spoke with a gentleman named Frank, 80 years old, who would often skip breakfast and only eat dinner. He thought he was doing a form of fasting that was good for the heart. But what actually happened was that his blood sugar dipped so low during the day that when he finally ate, it surged up fast, putting strain on his arteries and his brain. Regular, balanced meals throughout the day are key for keeping your system steady, especially as you get older. If cooking feels like a hassle, simple solutions like meal prepping once or twice a week, or having ready-to-eat options like Greek yogurt, boiled eggs, or pre-chopped veggies can help. It doesn't have to be fancy. The goal is to keep your body fueled evenly throughout the day. Another thing many seniors overlook is the importance of healthy fats. For years, fat was labeled as the enemy. Low-fat this, fat-free that. But now we know that healthy fats, like those found in avocados, olive oil, nuts, and fatty fish, are actually protective for the brain and can reduce stroke risk. They help keep blood vessels flexible, reduce inflammation, and support overall brain function. A lot of my patients worry about weight gain when they hear fat, but it's really about the type of fat and the quantity. You don't need a lot, just a drizzle of olive oil on a salad, a small handful of walnuts, or a serving of salmon once or twice a week can go a long way. And these healthy fats also help you feel satisfied, so you're less likely to reach for sugary or salty snacks later on. Now, as we're wrapping up these important points, I want to gently remind you, all these habits we've talked about today, whether it's choosing whole fruits over canned, avoiding fruit juices, staying hydrated, swapping out refined carbs, or including healthy fats, are all small pieces of a bigger picture. That picture is about protecting your brain, your independence, and your joy in life. You don't need to change everything overnight. Start with one small adjustment. Maybe today you drink an extra glass of water, or check the label on that can of fruit in your pantry. Maybe tomorrow you try whole grain bread instead of white. Every step forward counts. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by health advice, especially with so many voices out there telling you different things. But the heart of it is simple. Your body thrives when you give it real, nourishing foods and steady care. You deserve to feel clear-headed, energized, and safe from sudden health scares like strokes.